Till now we have talked about DC to DC boost converter basic operation and the average voltage relationship between output and input. In this video, we would talk about the output voltage ripple. We did that for buck converter in past, and that was relatively simple. In boost converter, it becomes a little bit more complex. So you may see a little bit more equations and so on. But then you can find an expression for output voltage ripple and inductor current ripple, right? So this is the objective for this particular video. Let's go ahead and so first thing, as we did in case of buck converter, let's draw the circuit. So this we are talking about a boost converter here. So let me draw the circuit and R, VO, capacitance C, L, S1, S2, P in, right? When S1 is on and the circuit is this, and when S1 is off, then the circuit is this. With respect to there is obviously a resistance here, right? So we can see that when switch S1 is on, if I take the polarity of EL as this is the inductor current direction. So V in is equal to L dIL by dt, right? This is the reference polarity. In this case, it will be V in minus VO is equal to L dIL by dt. Now, since this is a boost converter, the output voltage is greater than the input voltage. Therefore, when switch S1 is on, you see this is positive, slope of the current is positive, and when switch is off, then since V0 is more than V1, the slope is negative, right? With this basic information, we can draw the inductor current waveform. So let's say this is S1 on, this is S1 off, right? And this point is dTs and this point is Ts. We draw the inductor current now. Let's say the initial value of inductor current was this much, and now from this point it rises with the slope is V in by L, right? So it rises with the slope of V in by L, and from that point it falls with the slope of V in minus VO by L, which will come out to be negative. So this is falling, and since we are talking about steady state, so the start point and the end point in the cycle is same, right? Now once this is so once we have drawn the inductor current waveform, we can go ahead and find the ripple component. Let me number these equations as 1a and the second one as 1b. So let's use equation 1a. We can write V in dt is equal to L dIL integral going from t equal to 0 to dTs, right? And going from IL min to IL max, right? If we integrate it, we get V in into dTs is equal to L times IL max minus IL min, which is nothing but delta IL. This gives us the expression for delta IL, or the ripple in the inductor current, as V in dTs by L. right? So we can see here, similar to buck converter, right? If you increase the switching frequency, essentially you reduce the sampling time, which would reduce the ripple current. Similarly, if you increase inductance, then also you reduce the ripple current, right? Straightforward till now. Now so we have found the inductor current ripple. Now what is the other ripple? The other ripple is the output capacitor voltage ripple, right? So let's try to find the output capacitor voltage ripple. In doing so, let's take a first step, which is, let's draw the switch current IS2, right? Let me show the reference direction. This is IS2. So reference IS2, when from 0 to DTS, S2 is off, so IS2 is 0. And from period DTS to TS, S2 is on. So therefore, inductor current is equal to switch S2 current, and therefore the current looks something like this. This is my switch S2 current. Now we also understand that since the average current in the capacitor, output capacitor, is going to be 0, the average value of switch S2 current is going to be equal to the average value of load current, I load. And therefore I can draw a line. So essentially the average value of this particular waveform, I can approximately, let's say, draw, let's say it comes out to be some, right? Now you see there are two possible cases here. One case is where IS2, where you have a very small ripple in inductor, and therefore the IS2 waveforms look something like this, and your average current looks something like this, I load. This is case A, which is essentially implies that, what is case A? We can quantify it, and we can say that this point, what is this point? This is IS min, right, which is also equal to IL min. So IL min, minimum value of inductor current, is greater than or equal to the load current, right? This is one of the case. The other possible scenario is something like this, where you have very large ripple, and this something like this, and here you have an average, sorry, this is your average current. In this case, let us call this case B, right? What is case B? That IL min is less than I load, right? These are the two possible scenarios which can happen. So therefore, in each of these cases, the ripple in the capacitor voltage would be different. How is that? Let's try to draw it. I may need to shift this waveform. Let's see here, okay. And so this is case B, right? So what happens in case A? If this is your IS2, what about IC, or the capacitor current? IC is equal to IS2 current, the current coming from the switch, minus capital I load. So essentially from the dark line, you remove the dash line and you get IC So IC waveform looks something like this, and then it goes positive, and then it goes like this, and then, right? This is your IC capacitor current waveforms look like. In this case, how would the capacitor voltage waveform look like? VC. Now we can write that IC is equal to C dVC by dt, right? So we can see that if IC is negative, slope of voltage capacitor is negative, IC is positive, slope is positive. So for the from 0 to dTs, and IC is negative, so capacitor voltage would fall, and from that point it will rise, and then it will again touch the same point, right? This one, this is what would happen. We'll come back to case 2 in a little while and also draw the waveforms for case 2. First, let's try to solve case 1 and find this delta VC1 or delta VC. Okay, so how do we solve for delta VC? So you can see that before we go ahead and solve for this ripple, we can probably try to simplify this equation also into the known parameters, right? So let's try to first simplify this thing, which is the condition which decides whether you are operating in case A or case B. Let's try to solve this thing. So I can rewrite my IL inductor current minimum as inductor current average value minus the ripple component inductor current upon 2, right? And I want this thing to be greater or equal to the load current average value. Inductor current average value, I can write it as, if you remember, we have this circuit is ideal, so I can write it as VO by equating the input and output power. I can write it as VO into I load average upon Vin minus delta IL by 2. Now delta IL also I have found just above as equation number 2. So I can substitute it as V in dTs by L. Right? This expression should be greater than or equal to I load. Further, we can simplify it, bring I load terms on one side, I load VO by Vin minus 1 greater than equal to Vin dTs by 2L. I can substitute VO by Vin as VO by Vin as 1 upon 1 minus D minus 1. Further simplify it, 1 minus 1 minus D, D minus D greater or equal to Vn L I load greater than equal to 1 minus D times Vn ds by L. And so this is the condition which decides whether you operate as case A or as case B. So if this condition is true, you are operating as case A. Let's give an equation number to this equation, call it equation number 3. Okay, so we have found what is the condition for operation in case A versus case B. Now let's go ahead and solve case A. In case A, we want to find delta VC. So we understand that from DTS point, 2ts point. So I think the simpler version would be going from 0 to dts point, right? So we can directly go from 0 to dts point. What is the capacitor current during this period? Since your switch S2 is open, the capacitor current is nothing but equal to the load current, right? And therefore we can write IC equal to C dVc by dt. I can take dt here, integrate, let time go from 0 to dts. And what is voltage at 0? Voltage is max, so Vc max to Vc min. Okay. What is the left hand side term? Left hand side is term is nothing but area under the curve, represented by the green shaded region, right? That is the left hand side term. So I can rewrite the left hand side terms as minus I load into D into Ts. And what is right hand side? C times Vc min minus Vc max, which is equal to C times minus delta Vc minus I load dTs. If you cross multiply this, we get delta Vc is equal to capital I load into D. Sorry, not cross multiply. If we just shift C on the left hand side, we get an expression for delta Vc in the first case. Let's mark it as an equation number 4. You can always represent I load as equal to VO upon R, right? So you can either express in terms of output voltage and resistance also. So you would see similar observations that as Fs increases, Ts reduces, delta Vc also reduces. Similarly, as capacitance increases, delta Vc also reduces, right? So similar observations what we have been getting till now. Let's continue now and try to solve for case B. Let's just see what was case B. Case B was the case where the minimum point was lying below the average load current, right? Let me redraw case B scenario here and then we can draw switch current IS2 as this, and let's say this is your I load or average value of switch current IS2. And now I can draw the capacitor current IC, which is nothing but equal to switch current minus capital I load, which would be negative first, then it would go positive, and it will touch 0, and then again it will become negative. Right? The next cycle again it will jump to same value and then remain flat, and this pattern would repeat. Let's also draw the capacitor voltage Vc. Right now, let's say it starts from a point The current is negative, capacitor current is negative, so VC is falling. Then the capacitor current is positive, so VC rises up. Again, capacitor current is negative, so again it falls. So this is how, and the final point and the initial points are the same. This is how the capacitor voltage waveform would look like. Obviously, it is a zoomed version. The actual ripple, as we understand, is going to be much, much smaller. This is more for the observation and finding the ripple value. We are drawing it in a zoomed fashion. So what we need to find? We need to find the difference between this max value and the min value, right? This is the delta VC that we want to find. So what are these points? This is DTS, this is TS. Now, if you see, unlike the previous case where it was simpler because we could integrate from either from 0 to DTS or DTS to TS, but here we need to integrate from this point DTS to an unknown point. Let's call this unknown point as gamma times TS, right? Where the maxima would occur of the voltage waveform. Now let's start from the same equation that we would do, which is capacitor current is equal to C times dVc by dt. Let's integrate. Sorry. Let's integrate, right? So we can integrate from dTs to gamma Ts, wherein the dVc value goes from VC value goes from VC min to VC max. We simplify it. What we get is, what is the left hand side term? The left hand side terms indicates the area under this shaded region in the waveform for IC, right? So what is this area? This is the shaded region area. Let me, for the timing, let me just bring this part to the left hand side. So which is C times VC max minus VC min, which is delta VC, is equal to, let me write the area term on this side. So how much is this area? What is this peak value here? This peak value here is the peak value of the, or the max value of the inductor current minus the load current, right? Minus the load current. And therefore we can write this expression as half into base. How much is base? Base is gamma times Ts minus d times Ts into height. How much is the height? IL max minus I load. Right? This is how the expression would look like. Now if you see this equation, you know value of C, you don't know what is value of gamma. So how do you find the value of gamma? You can use the basic triangle property and you can write that Ts on the x-axis minus dTs upon gamma Ts minus dTs is given by, on the y-axis, IL max minus IL min upon IL max minus IL, right? So what is this? Let me just quickly show you in the graph. So we are doing this length, which is Ts minus dTs upon this length is proportional to this y-axis length upon this y-axis length. Right? So we are using basic triangle property. to find the value of gamma Ts minus dTs. Let me just rearrange this thing a little bit. So I can rewrite this as 1 minus d into Ts upon gamma Ts minus dTs is equal to, what is IL max minus IL min? It is delta IL upon IL max minus IL load. Let me rewrite it. I can write it as gamma Ts minus dTs is equal to 1 minus d times Ts into IL max minus I load upon delta IL. Now I can substitute the value of gamma, sorry, it's not equation 1, we already have equation up to 4. Let's call it equation number 5. I can substitute the value of gamma Ts minus dTs from equation number 6 into equation number 5, right? By substituting gamma Ts minus dTs from equation number 6 to equation number 5 gives us delta Vc is equal to 1 upon 2c 1 minus d Ts by delta IL into IL max minus I load square, right? Because there's one term from equation 6, one from 7, one from 5. Now if you want, you can further represent IL max. We already have an expression for delta IL, so we can just substitute it from there. We know the duty cycle, we know the switching frequency, so we know 1 upon that is Ts, we know capacitance, and so the only thing that maybe we can further simplify is what is IL max, right? What is IL max? IL max is inductor current average plus delta IL by 2, right? And what is inductor current average? Inductor current and load current, because inductor current is equal to input current average. Inductor current and load current are related, and this can be written as I load into VO upon Vin delta IL by 2. This can be further written as I load 1 upon 1 minus D plus delta IL by 2, right? Once you substitute the value of IL, you can substitute the value of IL max, delta IL, and if you want further, you can substitute I load in terms of VO by R, right? And by substituting all of them, you would get the value of delta VC. I'm not doing the substitution here because we would still, yes, certainly we can do the substitution and then simplify a little bit and we'll get a relatively better term, but I would leave it to you guys to try it and to get the final expression of delta VC. Right. So this process, although was a little bit involved, but then by understanding this process for any DC to DC converter, by following similar steps, you should be able to find the inductor current ripple and the capacitor voltage ripple, right? By following some of these basic steps.